Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here. This is going to be the first video in my 10.2 Warlock feedback series covering the class tree. Now, we're going to be making one for the class tree, one for Demo, one for Destro, and one for AF. I think it's better than making one large video. We can break it down into different segments. They're all shorter, and we will have one long feedback document at the end. I'll have a link to it down below. It'll be updated whenever each video releases. So this video, whenever it's out, you'll see only the class tree, I guess feedback-wise, in document, but nonetheless, it'll all be there when they're all released. So while the class tree might not seem maybe as exciting as a full-on Demo, Destro, or AF, I guess, video, the class tree feeds a lot of what the spec trees are, and the Warlock class tree is good in certain areas for sure, but some areas could use some improvements, possibly, and all of that. So we will go from there. I'm pumped for it. Some quality life improvements, some probably raw damage improvements, and yeah, out of all the specs and the class tree, I'm actually really pumped for the class tree. Well, maybe even the most, because it sort of feeds into Demo, Destro, and AF. So now, like always, if you want any weak warriors, add-ons, or profiles as seen in the video, links to Twitch and Discord down below are out for free for you guys. At the same time, links to Patreon, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all that up here if you want to support there. I am going to be uploading more to Instagram and TikTok and all that as well if you want to check those out. And for those that support on Patreon, I appreciate it a million times. Thank you for all support, guys. Legit, I really do appreciate it. And yeah, with that being said, let's just get right on into the class tree feedback. All right, so getting into the Warlock class tree. We are playing Demonology here, but it doesn't matter. We're focusing only on the Warlock class tree today. We're just playing Demo to show one talent a bit here, which might need a little bit of tuning. So for the most part, I think basically everything up here within reason is pretty much fine, solid in the Lot class tree. Maybe a couple tweaking changes you can make to things like Abyss Walker or I don't even know, you know, Lifeblood. It's all fine for the most part, right? Even getting down to here, things are fine for the most part. There is one problem though that I think is actually only an issue for Demonology, and that is with Sargerai technique. Now, for destruction, technique makes your incinerates hit harder. Incinerate a large part of your damage for destruction. Affliction is Drain Soul or Shadow Bolt, which it's your filler spell, but Drain Soul is a decent bit of your damage as Affliction. Demonology is Shadow Bolt. Shadow Bolt is a minuscule part of our damage. Pulling up an actual log here from the top Kazara kill right now. Shadow Bolt is, let's see here. It is a solid 2.93%. Now, well, it's actually more than it was in 10.1, you know, being 10.1.5. The fact of the matter is, Demon Bolt hits harder than Shadow Bolt by about 30-ish%, depending on the build you're playing and things. We're playing Sack Souls now, so, you know, they're both a bit more empowered. But I think changing this from Shadow Bolt to Demon Bolt would actually be pretty solid. We kept around Demonic Knowledge and things. I mean, there's still some, you know, Demon Bolt synergies around it. I think it would make more sense, right? They have indeed increased Shadow Bolt damage, I guess, indirectly by sort of making the best build is basically playing Sack Souls in single target this patch. But either way, for destruction, this is a large increase, a decent increase to your damage in single target because it buffs Incinerate. Affliction, Drain Soul. But when it comes to Demonology, Shadow Bolt is lesser than Demon Bolt and a pretty small contributor, I guess, overall. I wouldn't mind seeing this being shifted towards Demon Bolt. It wouldn't really change much in AoE, it wouldn't change anything at all, but it would be a bit of a bump to Demo's single targets, I guess, in more of a sustain kind of way. And honestly, that's what Demo needs, is more sustain outside of cooldowns. Now, outside of that, the issues, I think, points to hit on mostly lie in the bottom part of the Lot class tree. Now, just going down here, number 2, we're going to hit on Profane Bargain and Resolute Barrier. Now, both these are fine. They're played in certain settings, but they remind me a lot of what Inner Demons was for Demonology, which Inner Demons, which is here, used to be a 2-point talent, just like Demonic Calling. They're both, I think they were here and here in 10.1, and they were, you know, they were 2 talent points, whatever, but you only put 1 talent in them for the initial effect. 1 point in Inner Demons gave you 2 imps passively. 1 point in this gave you the chance for it to proc. And for the most part, all you really wanted was the actual effect. The second rank in it, that made it 20%, or this made it a 10% chance to give you a demon, didn't really matter a whole lot. You wanted the initial effect, and that was basically it. And it feels just like these two, Profane Bargain and Resolute Barrier, feel exactly the same. This effect, giving your health dropping low, giving you some healing from Soul Link, whatever, feels fine. But when you know, at rank 1 out of 2, let's say, for example, you put 1 point in it, it gives you a 5% additional bump up, which, honestly, if you're that low on health regardless, I mean, it's not only worth the second point investment. You want the ability, you want the baseline effect in certain settings at times, but having that extra 5% likely probably not going to save you having that second point in it, right? So it feels like maybe make this and Resolute Barrier to a similar extent 1-point talent nodes just how Inner Demons and Demonic Calling became in patch 10.15. Resolute Barrier giving you 5% both times, giving you 10 baseline 10-second cooldown reduction, whatever. But rank 1 out of 2 can occur more than once every 25 seconds. Rank 2, more than once every 20 seconds. So you can see both Resolute Barrier and Profane Bargain feel just like abilities that you want to have the baseline ability around for, but you don't really care about rank 2 out of 2. And that would be a pretty good change. Maybe free up a few points in the class tree for other abilities, and I think it'll make things feel a decent bit better. Now, moving on from there, number 3, we have Soulburn. For the most part, I think Soulburn's actually pretty solid. It's used as Demonology as a bit of a damage increase during another portal. But besides that, I mean, I've empowered every ability here. Circle, Gateway, Drain Life, Health Funnel, Healthstone at some point over the course of the expansion. Mostly gateways, but still, I think one thing it's missing here, and I hit on it in 10.1, even I think in 10.05, is Soulstone. I think adding Soulstone to Soulburn would be so good. It would be a massive quality of life increase for Warlock in every setting. Mythic Plus, PvP for whatever reason, rating. Casting a Soulstone on somebody mid-combat, not having that fast res, that instant res, whatever, is annoying, it's tedious, and it's frustrating. There's so many times we're trying to res somebody in a raid setting or Mythic Plus, being yelled at to res somebody. I'm resing, it has a cast time on it, right? It takes a while, you know. Being able to go Soulburn, Soulstone, which gives you an instant cast Soulstone, maybe tack on a bit of extra health and life comparatively to what it gives, which is 60% health and 20% mana, would be great, but it would cost you a Soul Shard via Soulburn. So if you really want that effect that quickly, you can do it by popping Soulburn into Soulstone. If you don't need it that fast or whatever, just pop it, you know, without a Soulburn, save a Soul Shard and go from there. Soulburn gives you the option to, I mean, alter abilities for even more utility, and Soulstone feels like just like the best fit for this ability, right? It feels better than Healthstone and Health Funnel and even Demonic Circle Teleport, right? It slots in so well, and it would make quality life battle resing for Warlock so much better. So, like, out of the other things we're going to talk about here in a second too, right? I want the other ones more. I think it makes the class feel more exciting, but like, if it's a baseline quality life change, I want Soulburn, Soulstone. It would feel so good in every setting. It would just make, it would make resing feel so much better. So please, Soulburn, Soulstone, if possible. Maybe a bit of a health and mana increase, maybe like 70% and 30 up from 60-20, but either way, Soulburn, Soulstone, I think it'd be really cool. All right, so moving on to number, I think 4 here, roughly 3 or 4, I don't know. It's going to be this talent node here, hybrid node, whatever, Inquisitor's Gaze and Summon Soulkeeper. Quickly for Summon Soulkeeper, the ability has been buffed a handful of times, buffed and nerfed over the course of the expansion. It likely needs more buffs now to make it, I guess, more competitive in AoE. Realistically, I think it needs an instant cast time. It feels very subpar taking time off to cast Soulkeeper, being basically a second cooldown or a second cast when you're casting Handling Gul'dans for implosions, or spamming Rain of Fires, or spamming Sow the Seeds and Seed of Corruption, right? It feels bad stopping that mass AoE to go, oh, cast Soulkeeper, which does a much lesser amount of damage. Now, if it was instant cast, you could just throw it at the end of a Rain of Fire, the end of an Implosion, the end of a Seed cast, whatever, it would be fine. It would collect souls like normal and be a solid all-around ability. But for the most part, it just feels awkward. It's probably a little undertuned. Also, the cast time just feels, well, sort of bad. So instant cast would be great. Maybe some buffs here and there. Because for the most part, Inquisitor's Gaze, I mean, not for the most part, everywhere, it is played. It's played in single target, in raiding, played in Mythic Plus. This is not played anywhere. Now, Inquisitor's Gaze is interesting. So it's gone through a lot of changes over the course of Alpha and Beta and 10.1 and 10.0 and 10.1 and all that stuff. It's in a spot now where its damage is incredibly RNG. So I have an actual log here. This is the top Destro parse currently. Fel Barrage, which is the eyeball, Inquisitor's Gaze, did 9.8%. I've had logs for my own kills, which has done less than 1%. I've seen logs with it being ahead of Channel Demon Fire. The RNG in this ability is wild. At times it procs back to back to back to back, and then you go a solid minute and a half, a whole minute actually, without a proc, and then it procs and procs again. The RNG on Fel Barrage is wild. Now, the ability is it's sort of cool, a bit basic, but I mean, hey, it's passive damage, right? I'll take it. But there needs to be some kind of like likely internal cooldown, or at least bad luck protection with Fel Barrage, because like there are some pulls where I have this ×3 and it lasts for a minute, and there's times where I have this for the entire fight and you get no damage at all. And having a capstone, realistically your only damage capstone be so incredibly RNG based feels really awkward, and also really skews logs and damage profiles and everything else. It's not good for a progression setting, not good for logs. It's not really good just for general fun, when at times both warlocks play the same and one gets 10% more damage because they proc a million times and one gets none. So the ability's gotten better, I'd say, over the course of, the patches, but there needs to be some kind of maybe internal cooldown, but also bad luck protection for it to proc basically guaranteed after a certain point in time. Because having anywhere from 9 to 10 to 12% of your damage being this from one pull, and the next pull being 1 or 2 feels terrible. On top of that, I think it'd be really cool. This is more of a visual kind of like, transmog kind of thing. But so when I see an Inquisitor, I think of this. I don't think of a little small green eyeball. If they could change Inquisitor's gaze to proc this thing whenever it proc, to have this like launch firebolts, that'd be super sick. For the most part, people are sort of like just whatever on Inquisitor's gaze. It's fine, it's there, it needs tuning, but like sort of bland, sort of a boring kind of capstone. If this was the actual model, I think it would feel so much more warlocky in a sense, and probably would go a long way in winning people back on Inquisitor's gaze, because both Inquisitor's gaze and Soulkeeper have undergone a tremendous amount of changes ever since alpha and beta, and honestly, like, it's just sort of there. But new visual effect and or some RNG fixing in the damage profile that it brings, and it'd be sick. All right, so getting into the bottom part of the class tree here in the capstones, I think it's important to mention, well, I guess the bigger capstone issues here. Off the bat, just Grim Feast. Now, I think the ability is relevant enough where it can still have a spot in the class tree. I think it was actually initially in this spot where Synergy is during Alpha. Then when they removed Decimating Bolt and they removed Dimensional Rift and put it in the Destro tree in late Alpha, I think. And they put this, like, I think from here to here, to feel like capstone trait, and just left it there. Now, Grim Feast, the ability is sort of cool. It's cool. It works well with, Drain Life, basically just AF stuff with ID. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think it's a capstone trait. It's not capstone worthy. There's no damage increase here. There's no damage increase in Soulburn either, but it feels maybe a bit more capstone worthy in a sense, right? But the fact of the matter is, never press Drain Life, just Destro or Demo, unless you're like literally dying and trying to stay alive, which really, if you're at that point, you're just dying either way. You're not taking Grim Feast to compensate for that. And you only play as Affliction if you're playing Inevitable Demise, a talent, but you really don't ever play that in PvE unless you're in like a super niche setting. It might be played in arenas, I don't know, but you can keep it in the class tree, put it up somewhere here again. You can probably even put it up as far as this row and it wouldn't even be too strong, or you could put it in the AF tree somewhere, maybe. But either way, as a capstone, the ability is cool. I like it, but it's not a capstone. It needs to go. This has been basically a dead part of the tree since 10.0, and it hasn't really changed much. So hopefully, I mean, if this is either removed or moved somewhere in the class tree or for AF, this frees up a capstone talent for us. Now, there's a handful of things that we could talk about when it comes to capstone talents for warlocks. Now, I have one thing up here. It is not what you see here initially. It's going to be this. It is Grimoire of Supremacy. Now, Ghost Up was a thing back in Legion where you had a permanent Doomguard or a permanent Infernal out that walked around with you, did damage. It was sick. Now, this reminds me of Beastmaster Hunters having 2 pets out, right? Imagine how cool it would be having a Felguard for Demonology out, or an Imp or a Dog, whatever, for Destro or AF, and having a Doomguard standing next to it. Now, this says Doomguard or Infernal. Likely just be Doomguard because Infernal is already a Destro thing, but either way, having like a permanent Doomguard, having Grimsup back would be really cool. It fits Warlock thematically, right? Pets, Doomguard is sick. It would be a damage capstone. Hopefully it does some relevant damage, unlike Grim Feast, but memes aside. At the same time, they literally gave us new Doomguard skins in the 10.1.5 Barbershop pet update, and we don't use a Doomguard anywhere. I haven't summoned the Doomguard since Castle Nathria in a meme run. It's an awesome pet, but you never cast Ritual of Doom for a handful of reasons. But giving us Grimoire Supremacy back as a capstone would be awesome. Pay homage to Legion when it was, a really cool ability. I think it would be an awesome, just bring back. It'd be sick. People would love it. It feels Warlock, and swapping out like this for Grimoire Supremacy would feel so good, and would probably win some people back on the current state of Warlock and things, at least as far as the class tree is concerned, right? So that's one option there. I think it's worth mentioning that, so I do have Dark Souls pulled up here. There's been a lot of feedback given on Dark Soul in beta. It was removed in Dragonflight, right? In alpha, in beta, in 10.05, in 10.1, in 10.15, in 10.17, and it hasn't come back, right? And I don't know why that is, but it's likely for a reason. Now, I would love Dark Soul back. I'm right there with you, but at the same time, it would take tuning to every spec's main cooldowns being Dark Lair, Infernal, and Tyrant. But at the same time, this was Destro's, right? Dark Soul Instability gives you crit. AF, Dark Soul Misery, give you haste, and this is an old one from, I forgot when, but Dark Soul Knowledge. This gave you more mastery for Demonology, which increases your baseline pet damage. Now, yeah, it was removed in Legion, right? It was around in, I believe, Mist and things. Now, you'd have to tune every spec's cooldown, Infernal, Tyrant, and Dark Lair, sort of by having this back. You could slot this into the class tree right here and just say, hey, Dark Soul XYZ, depending on the spec, it changes. That could be an easy fix, be a welcome fix. People would love it back, but I don't think chances are incredibly high it's going to happen. There's also the issue of Demonology's damage profile with Tyrant and Portal being utterly insane right now. We'll get to that in a few days with the demo video, but it would take tuning. And out of all three specs that probably want it back the most, it's certainly Affliction, because it feels gross not having a haste-based cooldown for AF. Either way, it's an option. I don't think it's very likely, but I wanted to put it in the video because people will get mad if I don't. It's there. I like it. I don't think it's happening, but hey, if it can, awesome. Now, the last thing here that I want to hit on, and as far as another capstone, and to be fair, I mean, you could very easily move Soulburn up to teaching spot and just get rid of this or get rid of this, find a way to get two different capstones in here. Soulburn is a great ability. It's awesome having it back. It's a damage increase for Demo during Portal and things, and it feels good to hit, right, and empower other abilities. But at the same time, it's better than Grim Feast. It doesn't scream capstone to me. When I see mages with shifting power or whatever they have, or other damage-based classes that have these amazing capstones, and we have a utility capstone, I don't know what this is, and then we have a damage-based capstone, which is like really RNG. Soulburn sticks out as maybe something you can move up here, possibly to a teaching spot somewhere else, but still keep it around. But either way, what I want to get into is the last thing here. This is also sort of similar to Dark Soul in a sense, where it takes some tuning and things, is getting Grand Warlock's design in the class tree. Now, I think it happened with Paladin. I think Divine Toll happened in 10.1. I think Warriors have an ability to in the class tree that was in each spec tree, but was moved to the class tree. And I think Grand Warlock's design should follow suit. Divine Toll and whatever the Warrior ability is, I think it's a Warrior ability, might not be the same exactly, but Grand Warlock's design is in the Demo tree, the Destro tree, and the AF tree. And for the most part, I know that it shares a node with like another empowerment kind of spell here, but I think if that's the case, there should be serious consideration given to putting it in the class tree somehow. It would take retuning of Tyrant with Reign of Tyranny. It would have to maybe retune Infernal at the same time. Probably wouldn't, because Infernal, even with crashing, isn't like incredibly OP. And Dark Lair, honestly, it's not even played with Dark Lair now, so you don't have to worry about it. It would make Dark Lair better, sure, but like some tuning would be needed. But honestly, the biggest tuning would likely be around Demonology with Reign of Tyranny. And I don't want to spoil the demo video too much, but I think if you were able to get rid of this row here, or just think of a world where Portal doesn't exist. If you have like Tyrant, Reign of Tyranny, and you have Grand Warlock's design in the class tree, that gives you those Tyrants, say not paired with Portal and things, on a minute cooldown back to the Shadowlands damage profile of Tyrant every minute, giving you a strong Tyrant every minute. One with Grimoire, one without, but it fixes sustained damage a bit. You're Tyranting basically a minute in versus every minute and a half. It's more consistent damage, stronger damage profile, and it works for, 2-minute Infernal for Destro, like baseline, is insane. It feels so good, but it's relevant. 2-minute Infernal and 3-minute Infernal for Destro, different specs. And thankfully, we have that with Destro now, but it's either, at times you can play GWD, Grand Warlock's design, or at times you just opt to not play it and play Burn to Ashes. But either way, having it around in the class tree and freeing up other talents, having the option to put something else here or whatever, or just give it baseline Reign of Chaos. You can have Infernal crashing into Reign, and then baseline Grand Warlock's design over here in the class tree, I think would make Destro's profile feel much better. Because while 2-minute Infernal has felt good in 10.15, it still feels a little lacking. And what could fix that is giving you Infernal with crashing and Reign as an option here as a capstone, and having this in the class tree. The same goes for Demonology with Reign of Tyranny. We talked about it. And when it comes to Affliction, you would have Dark Lair, you'd have Malevolent Visionary, And if you wanted a Grim Reach, and let's say an AoE setting, you can grab it. If not, you leave it like this. But you have Grand Warlocks in the class tree, giving you a minute and a half Dark Lair, roughly, somewhere around there, which could pair really well with Vile Taint, pair well with Singularity, maybe not great with Soul Rot, see where it goes. Once again, doesn't need to be OP for every spec, but it would still make every spec feel better. Cooldown reduction and things, not the same as Divine Toll, but still feels really good to play with. It might take a bit of tuning, or I guess retuning, but I think if there's any way to get Grand Warlock's design in the class tree, for the sake of all three specs, Affliction, Demonology, and Destruction, I think it fixes a lot of issues Demo sustain. Destro's just hot and cold kind of damage profile with 2-minute Infernal and Crushing Chaos, and AF is just sort of AF. I think it fixes a lot of issues, and it would make Warlock as a whole, having it in the class tree, for every spec, just feel so much better. So out of all the things I mentioned here, out of every ability that I'd like to see in the class tree, it's up there. Like, Permanent Doomguard's up there, but number one is honestly Grand Warlock's design. Hey, I'll take Grand Warlocks and Permanent Doomguard too, but yeah, potential to be exceptionally fun. And that should wrap it up. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm pumped to make Destro, Demo, and AF as well, but I've been really pumped to start the series off with the class tree, because I think it sets the base, the premises, whatever. Just it gives a good ground floor to start on for Destro, for Demo, and for AF. Like I said, for the most part, I think the top part of the class tree is pretty good. A lot of cool, unique, I guess, like just utility-based abilities. The bottom third is where some of the issues sort of lie, but honestly, I'm hoping that 10.2 changes some of that. We'll see where it goes. I really wanted to get ahead of 10.2 on feedback, right? Just in case any possible chance any of it's taken into account. Because I think Lock has gotten better and better every single patch, enjoyment-wise, playability-wise. But there's still a few nodes, a decent bit in the class tree that could use some help. And yeah, if we can do that, then awesome, great. I want Lock to be as fun as possible. So if you guys like the video, hit the like and sub buttons below. It helps out a ton. Like always, once again, any Wiki Warriors add-ons or profiles, links to Twitch and Discord down below if you want to grab them. And I want to give one huge shout out again, to my patrons who are in the video. We're all supporting on Patreon, guys. Like always, thank you a million times. I really appreciate it. If you're looking at supporting on Patreon, it should be a link up here as well as down below in the video description. So I would guess that we're probably about, I don't know, 3-ish weeks away from 10.2 hitting PTR. I could be off, could be a lot longer, could be shorter. I don't know. But either way, we're going to have Destro, Demo, and AF going up, not in that order. Just, I don't know how it's even going to be order-wise. Over the course of this weekend, getting into early next week. So if you guys want to see more of that, hit the like and sub buttons below. Helps out a ton. Check back in a few days. And yeah, also, it links down below to the spreadsheet if you want. I will update it based on each spec or whatever is coming out video-wise when the video comes out. And yeah, that should be it. So, oh, you guys have any ideas or whatever, put it down below in the comment section. And I'll read over it. If there's any good ideas on there, maybe I'll grab them. So, all that being said, thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you all again soon on stream. Peace.